Once upon a time, when I came home and saw the chaos, I couldn't help but let out a scream. All the furniture had vanished, including our expensive bed. It was like a nightmare unfolding before my eyes. To make matters worse, my mother-in-law, Lyra, greeted me with a smirk. She confessed to taking our belongings for her own use, claiming she had no choice. She even had the audacity to insult me, calling me a part-time wife and accusing me of living off my husband's earnings in our luxurious apartment. Feeling my blood boil, I confronted Lyra, only to be met with more mockery. It was a bitter moment of realization that the life I thought was mine was slipping away. My name is Alice, and my journey with Harry began in college. He was always one to flaunt his wealth, showering me with gifts even on ordinary days. Despite his lavish ways, I was drawn to his genuine happiness in making me smile. After graduation, we tied the knot in a grand ceremony, surrounded by friends and happiness. Harry wanted me to quit my job and become a full-time homemaker, a decision I accepted willingly, though it seemed old-fashioned. Living in a rental apartment now, Harry's dissatisfaction lingered, but I insisted on a modest lifestyle to avoid overspending. Despite the smaller space, I cherished it as our first home together. But as I reflected on our journey, doubts crept in. Was Harry's love for extravagance masking deeper issues? And was I truly happy in a life dictated by societal norms? These questions gnawed at me as I navigated the complexities of marriage and identity. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a tumultuous journey towards self-discovery. Even though our current apartment was small, Harry came home one day with excitement, showing me an advertisement for a luxurious apartment in a prestigious neighborhood. The rent was sky-high, almost 10 times what we were paying. While the photos looked appealing, I knew we couldn't afford such extravagance without sacrificing basic necessities. Despite my reservations, Harry was eager to move, thinking the new place would be much better than our cramped quarters. He assured me not to worry about finances and insisted that he would handle everything. His attitude toward money had always been different from mine, but I had learned to accept it. Feeling somewhat pressured by Harry's enthusiasm, I reluctantly agreed to the move. I thanked him for accommodating our current living situation, but also proposed the idea of me working part-time to ease our financial burden. Harry agreed, and we swiftly signed the lease for the new apartment. As we packed up our belongings and settled into our new home, I couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and apprehension. The spaciousness of the apartment was a welcome change, but the high rent weighed heavily on my mind. Soon after, my mother-in-law, Lyra, paid us a visit. I had never been particularly fond of her, as she had always treated me coldly, even since our engagement. Her critical eye scanned the apartment, finding fault with the way I maintained it. Her Harry's stung, reminding me of those stereotypical mother-in-laws from TV dramas. Despite her disapproval, I remained composed, though her presence only added to the stress of adjusting to our new surroundings. Little did I know that her visit would herald the beginning of even more challenges in our journey. Lyra's visit turned into a thorough inspection of our apartment. She ran her fingers along the window sashes, scrutinizing for any speck of dust, and invaded the kitchen, poking around as if she owned the place. Her intrusive behavior was unsettling, to say the least. Then came her unsolicited commentary on my part-time job. She questioned why I would spend hours working for what she deemed as meager pay, suggesting instead that I invest in beauty treatments to please my husband. Her words were like arrows, piercing through my self-esteem. It became increasingly clear that Lyra's condescending attitude stemmed from her belief in her own financial superiority. She flaunted her wealth and belittled our lifestyle, making frequent visits to our upgraded apartment just to rub it in. I tried to confront her about her intrusive visits, but she dismissed my concerns, asserting her authority as Harry's mother and implying that my presence in the apartment was unwelcome. Her words cut deep, leaving me feeling ashamed and inadequate. The tension escalated when Harry returned home, oblivious to my distress. He brushed off my exhaustion and instead focused on accommodating his mother's demands. It was as if my feelings didn't matter, as long as Lyra was satisfied. Feeling overwhelmed and unheard, I fled from the house, seeking solace elsewhere. But even as I returned the next day, hoping for some semblance of peace, I was met with a heavy heart and a sense of despair. The constant cycle of neglect and disrespect was taking its toll on my well-being. Harry and Lyra's shoes were nowhere to be seen, indicating that Lyra had left. Initially, I felt a sense of relief, expecting to avoid her sarcastic re-Harrys. But as I entered the bedroom, disbelief washed over me. The bed, the centerpiece of the room, was gone. My first thought was of theft, but it seemed improbable that someone would steal such a large and expensive item. I dialed Lyra's number, my patience wearing thin. Her response was nonchalant, claiming she had taken the bed for herself. Her audacity infuriated me. With a forced smile, I retorted, refusing her offer of a second-hand mattress. I couldn't tolerate her arrogance any longer. It was time to reveal the truth. I confessed my decision to divorce Harry, shocking Lyra into silence. In the ensuing conversation, I laid bare Harry's financial mismanagement, his penchant for living beyond his means fueled by borrowed money and gambling. Contrary to Lyra's assumptions, it was Harry who chose the luxurious bed, driven by a desire to impress others. I couldn't bear to remain silent any longer, unveiling the harsh reality of our situation. As I spoke, Lyra's confusion became apparent. She had been oblivious to Harry's financial troubles, blinded by her own assumptions of wealth and status. It was a sobering realization for her, one that shattered the illusion of her son's success. In the end, I parted ways with both Harry and Lyra, reclaiming my independence and leaving behind the facade of a lavish lifestyle. It was a painful but necessary step towards a future free from deceit and pretense. In the aftermath of my decision to divorce Harry, I found myself reflecting on the true nature of our relationship. It became clear that Harry's extravagant spending habits were driven by a desperate desire to impress others, fueled by borrowed money and gambling. Even our marriage had been orchestrated to maintain appearances. Harry's insistence that I quit my job to become a full-time housewife was not out of love or consideration, but to uphold his image in the eyes of others. His constant comparisons to neighbors and acquaintances revealed the superficiality of his aspirations. Faced with Harry's shallow facade, I finally confronted him with divorce papers. Despite his protests and attempts to shift blame, I stood my ground, determined to reclaim my independence. As I severed ties with Harry, I also confronted his mother, Lyra, who had long been an enabler of his behavior. I refused to be intimidated by her demands and made it clear that she no longer held any authority over me. In the aftermath of our separation, Harry's financial facade crumbled. Evicted from his lavish apartment and burdened with debts, he faced the consequences of his reckless spending. Even Lyra, who had once been supportive of her son, distanced herself as the truth came to light. Ultimately, Harry's downfall served as a stark reminder of the emptiness of material wealth and the importance of authenticity in relationships. Though my journey had been fraught with challenges, it was a necessary step towards finding true happiness and fulfillment. As I sat alone in my small room, I found solace in the simplicity of my surroundings. With just a small cactus by the window, I realized that true happiness wasn't about material possessions or lavish lifestyles. Despite the challenges I had faced in recent days, I felt a sense of liberation knowing that I was free to live life on my own terms. No longer shackled by the expectations of others, I embraced the opportunity to rediscover myself and pursue my own dreams. As I contemplated ordering a delivery, I saw it as a small indulgence, a simple pleasure that brought me joy amidst the chaos. In that moment, I understood that happiness wasn't measured by wealth or status, but by the moments of contentment we find in the everyday. With a newfound sense of optimism, I eagerly looked forward to choosing my meal and savoring the simple pleasures that life had to offer. In the end, it was these small luxuries that truly mattered, reminding me that happiness could be found in the most unexpected places. As I scrolled through the options for delivery, I couldn't help but smile at the abundance of choices before me. From comforting classics to exotic delicacies, each option held the promise of a delightful culinary experience. After much deliberation, I settled on a meal that struck the perfect balance between indulgence and simplicity, a hearty bowl of ramen from a local noodle shop. There was something comforting about the warm broth and chewy noodles that never failed to lift my spirits. As I placed my order, I felt a sense of anticipation building within me. The thought of enjoying a delicious meal in the comfort of my own home filled me with a sense of contentment that I hadn't felt in a long time. While I waited for my delivery to arrive, I took a moment to reflect on the journey that had brought me to this point. Despite the challenges and hardships along the way, I realized that every experience had shaped me into the person I was today. In the quiet solitude of my small room, surrounded by the soft glow of evening light, I felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over me. Gratitude for the simple pleasures of life, for the freedom to make my own choices, and for the strength to overcome adversity. As I eagerly awaited the arrival of my meal, I made a silent vow to cherish each moment and savor every bite. For in the midst of life's uncertainties, it was these small moments of joy that truly mattered, the simple luxuries that reminded me of the beauty of being alive. With the aroma of savory broth lingering in the air, I decided to make the most of the evening. As I waited for my ramen to arrive, I pulled out a book that had been sitting on my shelf, waiting to be read. It was a novel I had been meaning to dive into for weeks, but life's hectic pace had always seemed to get in the way. Cradling the book in my hands, I settled into a cozy corner of my room, the soft light from the lamp casting a warm glow over the pages. As I began to read, I found myself transported to a world of adventure and intrigue, each word weaving a tapestry of imagination in my mind. Lost in the story, I lost track of time as the minutes turned into hours. Outside, the city buzzed with life, but within the confines of my room, I was enveloped in a peaceful cocoon of solitude. When the doorbell finally rang, signaling the arrival of my dinner, I reluctantly tore myself away from the captivating narrative. With a satisfied smile, I set the book aside and made my way to the door. As I opened the door to receive my meal, I was greeted by the sight of a steaming bowl of ramen, its rich broth beckoning invitingly. Taking a moment to savor the tantalizing aroma, I thanked the delivery person before retreating back into the warmth of my room. With the bowl of ramen in hand, I settled back into my reading nook, eager to resume my literary journey. As I savored each spoonful of noodles and broth, I felt a sense of contentment wash over me, grateful for the simple pleasures that brought joy to my life. As the evening wore on and the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, I continued to lose myself in the pages of my book, relishing the opportunity to escape into worlds of wonder and imagination. And as I drifted off to sleep later that night, my belly full and my heart light, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I would always find solace in the small luxuries that made life worth living. The following day, I woke up to the gentle rays of sunlight filtering through the curtains, casting a golden hue over the room. Stretching languidly, I felt a sense of anticipation for the day ahead. It was a day filled with possibilities, a blank canvas waiting to be painted with new experiences and adventures. After a leisurely breakfast of toast and coffee, I decided to take a stroll through the nearby park. The crisp morning air filled my lungs as I wandered along the winding paths, the soft rustle of leaves overhead providing a soothing soundtrack to my thoughts. As I meandered through the park, I couldn't help but marvel at the beauty of nature all around me. The vibrant colors of the flowers, the majestic trees reaching towards the sky, and the playful antics of the squirrels darting among the branches, all served as a reminder of the simple joys that could be found in the world around us. Lost in reverie, I found myself drawn to a secluded bench overlooking a tranquil pond. Sitting down, I closed my eyes and allowed myself to bask in the serenity of the moment, feeling a sense of peace wash over me like a gentle tide. In that moment of stillness, I reflected on the journey that had brought me to this point, the ups and downs, the twists and turns, the joys and sorrows. Each experience had shaped me into the person I was today, imbuing me with resilience, compassion, and a deep appreciation for life's beauty. As I opened my eyes and gazed out at the shimmering waters of the pond, I made a silent vow to cherish each moment, to embrace the present with open arms, and to live each day with purpose and gratitude. Feeling rejuvenated and inspired, I rose from the bench and continued my stroll through the park, my heart filled with a sense of wonder and possibility. And as I made my way home, I couldn't help but smile, knowing that no matter what the future held, I was ready to greet it with open arms and an adventurous spirit. After returning from the park, I decided to dedicate some time to pursuing my passions. I had always loved painting, and there was no better time than the present to indulge in some creative expression. Setting up my easel by the window, I gathered my paints and brushes, eager to lose myself in the world of colors and shapes. With each stroke of the brush, I felt a sense of liberation, as if the canvas were a blank page waiting to be filled with my imagination. As I painted, I found myself drawn to vibrant hues and bold strokes, each movement guided by intuition rather than logic. The act of creation was cathartic, a way to release pent-up emotions and find solace in the act of expression. Hours passed in a blur as I poured my heart and soul into the canvas, each brushstroke bringing me closer to a sense of inner peace. And when I finally stepped back to admire my work, I felt a surge of pride and satisfaction wash over me. It wasn't a masterpiece by any means, but it was mine, a reflection of my thoughts, my feelings, my essence captured in vivid color. And as I gazed upon the painting, I felt a sense of connection to something greater than myself, a reminder that beauty could be found in even the simplest of moments. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the room, I knew that it was time to put away my paints and brushes. But the sense of contentment and fulfillment lingered, a testament to the power of creativity to uplift the spirit and nourish the soul. With a smile on my face and a newfound sense of purpose in my heart, I cleaned up my workspace and prepared to embrace the evening ahead. And as I settled down for the night, I knew that no matter what tomorrow brought, I would face it with courage, resilience, and an unwavering belief in the beauty of life.